Hello to everyone who has joined for today's workshop on how to land your target role in marketing. We are still about 2-3 minutes away from start time. So just hold on. We will get more people joining in and then we will kick it off very soon. Um, I see one of our speakers, Shaurya, has already joined. Shaurya, welcome.
Hello, Arjun. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing today?
Great, great. All right. So I just realized that India is playing in the World Cup today. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how many people actually
How
take
many
some
people
time.
can now?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually we make sure that there are no important events and festivals around this time,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. Anyways, this session is getting recorded. So
Now
for
we'll
the benefit of those who are not able to join, we will be circulating it within our community.
sure, sure.
Okay, hello there again, everybody. Thanks for joining in. I see that more and more people are joining in, so we'll just perhaps give it another minute and then get started. And Prerna, I see that you are here as well. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Great. I was just saying this earlier, Prerna, before you joined to Shaurya that today I think India is actually playing in one of the World Cup matches. So it'll be interesting to see how many people prioritize their career over World Cup.
That's tough.
It is tough,
That it's
especially when
tough.
India is playing so well.
Yeah, but that's all right. I think we'll make do with everybody who prioritized.
Yes, and yeah, I was sharing with Shaurya that this session is getting recorded. So it
Sure.
will be circulated within our communities, and you can feel free to share it in your network later as well.
Perfect. Thank
All
you.
right.
Sorry, I know that I was supposed to join in 5 minutes earlier, but I got logged out. So I had to click
No
a lot of
worries.
buttons.
No worries. I think we can hear you and see you fine. So that's all we really wanted to make sure of. I think we have enough critical mass in the room, and Shaurya is here as well. So what we'll do is perhaps just get
Hi.
started. Um,
Hello. Hi, Prerna.
Hi, Shaurya. How are you?
I'm doing good. Missing the match.
yeah, I think hopefully we can all watch the highlights later. Um,
Yes,
I,
yes.
I was going to say that then it's on Arjun to send you the highlights to make sure that you're updated.
okay, all right. Should we get started? Shaurya, Prerna, both good to go? Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, thank you everyone for joining into today's workshop. The topic, as you all know, is how to land your target role in marketing. And we at Pivot love doing these events, these workshops, because we really saw that there is a lack of free knowledge sharing, especially from people like Shaurya and Prerna who've been there, done that. Um, so it's really because of them and their generosity of time and expertise that we are here today. So first, a big thank you to Shaurya and Prerna. Thanks so much. You were very willing and forthcoming in doing this. Really appreciate that. I think it's going to be very beneficial given the current job market that we are dealing with, right? I'll give you an example. We did a job post just yesterday to hire for a role at Pivot. Within 1 hour or maybe 1 hour 15 minutes, we got over 250 applications, right? And Pivot is an early stage startup. We are still building a brand. Yes, we have some good visibility, but I can only imagine what it must be like for companies like Zomato and Reliance, who have such big brands. When you're putting out a JD, how many applications you're getting. And it's not just the people who are currently in jobs who are thinking about transitioning. Obviously, everybody at each juncture of their career is trying to optimize outcomes for their own selves. But at the same time, there are so many layoffs that have happened recently that a lot of people are just trying to, kind of survive and find the next role before things start to get tough financially and all those things. So it's all about, landing your target role today that we are going to cover. And just a bit of intro. So I'm the founder at Pivot, which is a startup that helps people make smooth career transitions. So if you're thinking about changing your role, your domain, or industry, we provide an end-to-end solution that helps you get from where you are currently to your target role. We'll talk more about that later, but I do want to turn it over to Prerna first and ask Prerna to share a bit about your background, your journey so far, and then we'll turn it over to Shaurya as well.
Thank you. Hi guys, hi girls. I'm Prerna Kapur. I have been part of Zomato since the last 5.5 years. Overall, I've been working since the last 11 years of my life. Never thought that's how it's going to be. Coming from a very Punjabi family, I also thought that like any other cousin sister, I will get married by the age of 24 and just, attend kitty parties. But I think that's not what I wanted to choose, even when I had options. Not that I didn't. But then we're all here to talk about what I've been doing, and also I'm going to talk very plain and simple. I'm going to talk about how I ended up entering into marketing. To give you a background, I've done hotel management, which is my first checkpoint. From there, I was in operations, moved into sales very quickly in my career. I did sales for most of my career. Moved into an NGO/operational role again, and then ended up doing in marketing. So I've done sales, marketing, operations. I've done a lot of hiring. I think just because I didn't get into engineering, tech is the only thing that's left for me, which I think I will not even try to enter. But then for me, I always wanted to be a jack of all trades. I always wanted to I always wanted to know it all. So it was very important for me to figure everything out, know everything, and make sure that, okay, there's nothing that I haven't touched and nothing that, I wouldn't know or I could contribute to. So in all of this, I managed to, do a lot of research, figure out more things. But then at the end of it, I realized that all of it just makes me a generalist and turns me into a program manager who can finally address everything. I call myself a jugadu. I think that I can figure out everything. There is nothing that, if there's a problem, there's no problem that I can face and not solve. So that's what I have always aimed to be. That's probably and hopefully that's what I am going to continue doing. Talking about marketing, it I was very lucky that it fell in my lap because of the work that I've been doing. I was at Zomato's NGO, it's called Feeding India. I did a lot of marketing and operations and partnerships because we were a very lean team. I ended up doing a lot of that together. And, the founder asked me to move into central marketing. What I do currently, I take care of integrations, which is placing Zomato in movies and music and OTTs. If you've seen Jawan or if you've seen Spider-Man and you've managed to spot Zomato in it, that's what I did. I do a lot of influencer marketing. And these days, I'm also on a personal level, I'm trying to up my LinkedIn game. So I think one of the topics that we're also going to cover is how LinkedIn is going to actually help you land your next job or figure out what you want to do next, or just be open enough to talk to people. So I think I'll be able to cover a lot of this. Anything fancy, I think Shaurya is going to take care of that, because I stalked his LinkedIn and I realized that, okay, we'll keep the fancy stuff to Shaurya and all the jugaad stuff to me, and we'll take it forward. Over to you, Shaurya.
Thanks,
Thank,
Prerna.
thank you, Prerna, for that introduction even before I start. So yeah, my journey is very different as compared to Prerna. She landed up in marketing. I wanted to do marketing. So so I'm an engineering by graduation, and like most, kids around us, I also, after working for 2 years, I was like, oh, ye nahi karna hai, kuch aur karna hai. And, first I thought that, maybe I should get into advertising instead of doing an MBA. And then, I heard about a college called Micah, and I was like, this is something that is up my alley, because a lot of advertising professionals come out of here, and also marketers come out of here. So let me just get into this college, and then I'll figure what to do. And when I entered the college, digital platforms were sort of just coming up. I was part of the placement committee in my college, and when we used to pitch companies like Web Chutney and Flipkart, even Zomato for that matter, seniors and juniors, everyone used to look at us, ki, matlab, ye kya hai? Why are you telling me this? Why are you not telling me about PNG, HUL, Dabur, all those sort of things. And because I was from the tech background, I sort of, gravitated towards digital marketing, and that's how I built my portfolio. So I started working in a gaming company. Then I realized that, product manager is not what I want to be. Because if you are, if you're building games based out of movies, so the example that Prerna gave earlier, now if there was a Jawan movies game to be built, that's what I used to do in my gaming stint. So it pretty much sells by itself. So I had a small stint at advertising agencies, and then I moved to HDFC Life. And when I joined HDFC Life, I thought, insurance is a category which is pretty boring, and probably I'll get bored too. So I'll leave it in, like, 2 saal try karenge, and then I'll just leave it. But as it turned out that, as you start understanding how financial model works, how financial instruments work, you want to make sure that you're able to make them as easier as possible to people, because that is something that nobody teaches us. And I continued that journey. Then I worked for Oppo outside of India, and now I work for Reliance Retail in the new commerce division for a B2B commerce app. It's called JioMart Partner, which facilitates bulk buying for your local grocery merchants, hotels, restaurants. That's sort of the thing. And yeah, so I mean, on picking up from Prerna, actually yesterday only I was having a conversation that if you look at it, most of the marketing team is a program manager, because they have to make sure that they coordinate with each and every single function in the organization. Only then something good or something valuable for the customer can come out. Otherwise, it's just, it's not like marketing from the outside looks very fancy, that you'll make an ad and it will play on TV, and you'll be talking about that in conferences. but it's the other way around. Like the back end of it is, where there's a lot of coordination, negotiation, pitching, selling happens, and then you see that final output anywhere else.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's all about me.
Perfect. Great. Thanks for sharing your journeys and setting up that context, Shaurya and Prerna. So, let's kick it off. Let's dive in. And before we do that, just a quick note to everybody in the audience that, we'll be discussing some of the key topics around landing your target role in marketing for the next, I would say, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And then after that, we want to turn it over to you all to ask your questions from Prerna and Shaurya. We really want to make it interactive. So feel free to switch on your camera and unmute yourself later, or you can also just share your questions in the chat if that's easier for you. But yeah, so to kick things off, the first thing it will hopefully help us set the foundation for today's session is maybe we can talk about some of the key career trends, Prerna and Shaurya, that you are both seeing in the marketing realm, right? Like, what are some of the key roles that are up and coming? Obviously, AI is everywhere, and I don't want to overemphasize it too much because it's literally everywhere, and it's been turned into a buzzword today where people who don't know anything about AI are also talking about AI. But it has had an impact on marketing in a significant manner over the last year. There are, I'm sure, other dynamics that you both have experienced which are uh, kind of taking the marketing field to a different level. So, Prerna, we'll start with you, and if we can talk a few of the most important trends you're seeing from a career perspective in marketing, the kind of roles that are becoming more popular or people are vying for. It would be great to know more about that.
I feel that, I noticed this within my team also, that everybody is trying to move towards digital. Anybody and everybody who's, and I'm not talking about the creative folks, they, stick to what they do, and, they want to dwell in that and they want to grow in that. But then anybody who's doing anything operational in the marketing team, especially, brand managers, program managers, people who are working in CRM teams, they all want to broaden their horizon by also learning digital marketing. So we have a lot of folks who will jump to getting a role in digital marketing. They'll jump to even sitting with the digital team and figuring out what they actually do, because I'm talking about Zomato. Within Zomato, we have a main team, and then we also have the digital team that sits right next to us, and everybody is curious about with marketing. There's a lot of qualitative things that you can figure out, and then there's also quantitative, right? At the end of it, when you're sitting and figuring, when you're talking numbers, when you have to finally sit for your appraisals, at that time it's very important for you to show what you've done, right? I can talk about the 10 things that I managed, but then at the end of it, if I can't show numbers and if I can't show what was the outcome of that particular campaign, then it goes for a toss. For brand managers, while they are managing everything, there are a lot of times when they forget to keep track of what the outcome was, or they forget to even get into the very few companies that actually keep a track of what the outcome was. They'll finally see what end uh, the end goal for anybody is to increase the sales, right? So they'll figure that bit out with the main teams or the teams that they're working with, but then their individual goals, they forget to keep track of that. So that, I feel, which I completely, like, I'm sure Shaurya will be able to tell us more about that, but then with the digital team, the amount of money you put in, what the outcome is through the channels when you're talking about digital marketing. So that's a trend that I've seen that a lot of people want to move into. And outside of a corporate, I've seen that a lot of agency folks now want to work with brands because they've for them, it's very important, and vice versa also. But then I've seen that happening less. I've seen more of agency folks wanting to concentrate on one brand and bringing that brand up, because they also realize that it'll increase their value more once they're working on one particular brand and trying to get that up versus working with several companies and not probably getting the credit because the companies probably talked about how they've got that done, but then the agency that is actually the backbone of getting anything done does not get due credit, is what we feel. In Zomato we have everything in house, so there's very less times that we work with agencies, except for when we're doing influencer marketing, or when we're if we have something related to BTL or ATL. Otherwise everything else is in house. We have copywriters, we have designers. There's a whole house of these people who help us make every campaign. But then of course when we have to work with bigger celebrities and stuff like that, only then we go back to agencies and try to get us tied up with them. So yeah.
Got it. So I think a couple of good insights there. One of the key ones that I heard was that more and more people are thinking about moving from the traditional brand marketing to, let's say, digital, so that you can really track the impact or outcomes. That makes a lot of sense. Shaurya, would like to understand from you just a
Yeah.
similar question, but slightly tweaked. So we talked about what roles Prerna is seeing trending, and some of the moves that people are making within marketing roles. From your perspective, can we focus a little more on the kind of skills that employers are demanding more and more from marketers today? Especially for companies in consumer focused domain like retail and obviously F&B like Zomato, and there's a lot of new innovative marketing phenomenon coming up, uh, especially in B2C. So what are some of those skills that you are seeing trending from an employer requirement standpoint these days?
Okay. So I think if you break down marketing, there'll be probably 3 or 4 functions, and digital or mainline. The common goal that all of us are working towards is that that one objective that we've set for the company, whether it's about increasing the market share or getting more revenue from the same budget that we had last year, or making sure that okay, we've spent a lot of money in making our brand known to the people, but now we have to retain the customers. So all those sort of things. So you can divide. You'll have like a brand team, which will define the positioning. There'll be a content and partnerships team. There'll be a media team, and there'll be performance marketing team. Now, I think so. What is most important for any marketer these days is to be comfortable with tech, because if you're not that, you'll not any consumer focused company will have some amount of tech involved in it, and the influence of tech is as we speak is just growing over and over. So whether you're a digital marketer or you work in mainline, whether you work in media or you work in performance, you should have that. You should be able to build that comfort around tech, and that sort of will give you visibility into a lot of things. It doesn't mean that you have to become a coder, but you should understand that what's the difference between a CRM system and what is a measurement platform, how is analytics working out, all those sort of things. In terms of skills, I think so. See, when you're starting up, you have to focus on one skill per se that you can hone on. So for me, talking from my personal experience, I was a planner. I was a communications planner. So for example, I used to work on UTV motion pictures. So when a movie is releasing, beyond the trailer, what do you talk about on social media platform? What do you speak on? So in my stint, we launched UTV Motion Pictures Instagram channel. So what do you talk about on Instagram channel? So you think from that perspective, and then slowly and slowly build up. And then I think as you move on in your career, you have to realize that if what other skills can add to my skill set. So if you're a digital marketer, if you know content, and if you have a good hang of what content to create on different social platforms, then the next step is to understand how do you promote this content. So media planning becomes an important part. When you add that skill in your resume, then it's important that, okay, you can make a content, you can promote it, but how do you measure the KPIs? So the entire analytics part of it, that I have created this post and I've promoted it on Facebook. How is it actually tying up to that one objective that we decided at the start of the year?
Got it.
So, all those things sort of build up, and there is no particular skill that anyone, I can't spot a trend over there, but most of the companies these days, because there is a lot of pressure on revenue, everybody is focused on performance marketing. So, how do you run ads on Google, Facebook? What do you do on SEO? What do you do beyond SEO and programmatic and all those sort of things? So I think that is something that people should understand. And for that, there are two requirements, that people should be comfortable with tech and they should be comfortable with numbers. So yeah, that's my long and short answer.
Yeah, I think one of the key takeaways, again, for the benefit of everybody in the room, is kind of like the stacking effect that you talked about, right? Like you start at the bottom where you're designing kind of the strategies and the campaigns, then you implement them, then you start, kind of measuring the outcomes, and then you go back to the drawing board to see what else we should do next. So I know you shared a lot more there, but just to, pinpoint one of the key things is that marketing is not just any one thing, it's a set of activities. Even if you're just doing, let's say, one campaign, and you can start by specializing. I think you said you specialize more in the communications channel,
I
or the
used to.
space.
Now I do a lot more.
Yeah, initially when you started.
Yeah, initially, yes. That's where I started from.
Right, and you sort of build upon those skill sets over a period of time, so that makes sense. Now, switching gears just a little bit, because we need to address the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room, which is the current job market. It's something that I don't think a lot of people who are currently looking for roles have seen this before, because a lot of them are, in their early to mid 20s as well. And it can be very challenging as someone who has, less than 5-10 years experience, to navigate such a challenging job market on such a sustained period of time. So I really want to talk a bit about, perhaps from your perspective, what are some of the strategies you've seen other candidates apply, or you would like candidates to take, to optimize their chances of landing their target role, right? So Prerna, again, we'll start with you on this one. And usually when people are applying for roles, the number one thing they think about is, what roles should I apply for? And the second most important thing they think about is their resume. And that's pretty much it. There are obviously so many other things they can do. Like you talked about LinkedIn optimization and perhaps even preparing a portfolio. But let's start with the basics here. How do we optimize the basics of identifying the right opportunities and optimizing your resume so you get noticed by recruiters among a sea of applicants?
I'll like to start with the fact that we're here to also figure out whether, if we're not in marketing, right, if we're currently not doing marketing and we want to end up in a marketing role, what do we do about it, right? I think there are two things. One is that there are things that you're good at and there are things that you like. There are very few people in the world who are lucky enough to have both together, and then they are very good at something that they like to do. Sales comes naturally to me, right? I'm very good at it. Do I like it? Absolutely not. Who wants targets in life, right? But then I was good at it, so I stuck to that for most of my career. And I knew that, okay, this is my way to go. I never thought that I'm going to even go back to operations or end up doing marketing in life. So I always had two resumes. The minute I pivoted from sales to operations or marketing, or even the fact that I was working with Zomato's NGO, because I knew that, okay, I had to also look at other NGOs while I was working with an NGO, that that maybe this is the way to go for me. And I don't think that anybody's ever sure. Like, I love people who know what they want to do. I have not been one of them, right? In the sense that I will do because like I said, that I've become a generalist in life. I think I can do everything and I want to try everything. So I don't mind trying new things. Wherever I can learn from, I'll go there. So at the end of it, I've always had, one is my sales resume, where, I feel that, okay, if anywhere I feel that there's a role that I want to go, apply for, I will keep that on the side. But then I also have a marketing resume now, where anything that, I've done related to marketing in all spheres of my career, I put that up. So that is one way to go about it. I know, again, this is a jugaad. Not many people talk about it, but this is my way of doing it. If anybody wants to, pick that up. And secondly, I think that it's very important to, you know, if you have a network of people, if you know of people, or even if you don't know of people, people are very nice. People are very kind. There will not be a single person who, if they'd want to make time, they'll make time for you. If you want to go ahead and even ask, like Arjun and I connected on LinkedIn, right? Because he sent me a message and I wanted to reciprocate. If it is something that, but then of course I had my reasons for it. It was going to benefit me, right? But then if tomorrow somebody messages me on LinkedIn saying that, hi, can you just refer me? I don't think I will have a problem with that. So the same way, the Zomato works in a very different way. It does not, like, has been open to accepting resumes on LinkedIn very recently. Otherwise, it's always been via referral. And there's never been a problem in people who worked with Zomato to refer people who, but that's also a little bit after talking, you'd want to talk to the person, you have to figure out whether, like there's this first layer of check that if I am referring somebody, let me also know a little bit about the person. So I think your first message just cannot be that, hey, can you refer me? It can probably be, hey, let's talk a little, and if you could guide me and just tell me, like, give me a couple of minutes and tell me that whether this makes sense for me, then then in turn, then you can please do me a favor and refer me. It works. It always works. And then of course, there are a lot of spaces where you can learn and keep increasing your knowledge. It's very important to know what the trends are. Like, you're here for this same thing, right? I'm also here because Shaurya was there and Arjun was there, and I wanted to understand what, how people talk, what do they talk about, what are the keywords. It's so important to read even a job posting and pick up words from that, keywords, and figure out how you're going to showcase that, okay, these are the keywords that I want to probably talk about, and this is how I will bring value to your organization. Of course, that's post getting referred and once you land into the interview. But then there are very small things, and if I ever end up giving an interview, I always let the interviewer talk first. Let them talk about what the role is, let them talk about what are they expecting, and again, then pick up the keywords and try and showcase my work as things that they want. You have to sell yourself, right?
Prerna, sorry to interject, but I think we'll cover interviews separately because it's a whole beast in and of itself, right? And I think you shared a lot of valuable insights with regard to the job search.
Sorry, guys, I talk a lot. Yeah.
That's fine. I think there's a lot to be discussed. Honestly, we don't have enough time in this workshop. But I would like to bring in Shaurya into the conversation as well. And Shaurya, same question, but let's turn it a little bit more specific. Turn it into a more specific one. So let's say I am mid to late 20s kind of a professional who is looking to find my next role in marketing. I have some experience in marketing, but not a whole lot. And currently, everywhere I'm applying, I'm not hearing back from companies, right? Even if I get an initial screening call, there are usually no follow-ups. So if I'm somebody like this, how would you advise that I change my tactic, my job search strategy to get more outcomes? I think you're on mute, Shaurya.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just saying there was a good question. I'll have to think on that. See, typically how, if I'll take my example, back in the day when I was looking at jobs and I was figuring out that, okay, what should be my next move? Where should I go and what should I start doing? I think it always starts from the fact that you will, even when you either go to LinkedIn or when a consultant calls you, you always try to first understand that what is the business of that company? How does the company makes money? Once you understand that bit, I think then you can do what all Prerna talked about, that you can look at the job description, you can understand what exactly they are looking at, and then where you can add value. I think a lot of people, what they sort of do is that, like, if I've done some bit of marketing, and marketing is very broad, there is creative, there is operations, there is media planning, there is social media, there is brand planning. So it's a universe. And I think it's on recruiters also. Sometimes the job descriptions that you see are not very specific. They also don't know what they want. But thankfully, that I think I've seen in the last 2 3 years have started changing. People know what exactly what they're looking for, and hence it's important that if we are applying for the role, you understand first what is the business that they are into, how do they make money, and the time that we live in, it's very easy to understand what's happening uh, about the company in that particular sector. Once you understand that, then you should see that, okay, I know, let's say I was in marketing operations, but they are looking at a brand manager. So how can I, fulfill that gap? Can I understand? Uh, I might not know, I might not have done that in the past, but can I look at, brands and try to figure out that, okay, how are they building their positioning statements? Like, what's Zomato doing in their marketing campaigns? How do I learn from that and reverse engineer it of sorts, that if I had to build that campaign for Zomato, how would I do that? And break down those sort of steps. That will give you enough clarity to speak in the interview. And while applying to jobs, it's uh, writing your resume in a manner which catches the eye of the recruiter. So make sure that first of all, you're aligning to whatever is written in the job description, and second, state some facts. Even if you've not done something, you should mention out things that you're currently doing to reach up to that level. That will give you like a foot in the door. And when you're writing the cover letter, instead of if you're writing a cover letter, instead of making it that I have done these 4 or 5 things in the past, or I have this much experience, or I have graduated from this college, it should be about that, in a, like, in not more than 200 300 words, that how will I add value to that company with whatever I have done. And in most cases, reaching out to people and telling them that upfront along with your resume makes much more impact, instead of just saying that, hey, please refer me to this role as such. I think that starts up the conversation, and then you'll land up somewhere. I hope that answers
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It does. It does. I really like that you took a, sort of more 1,000 feet level view to this question initially, because you said the most important thing when you're thinking about job search is not immediately, your resume and cover letter, but you said it's most important to figure out what the company really does, how do they make money, and whether you are a good fit for that company. And so you can easily tie in at the time you're applying how to showcase your value to that company, right? Because if you're not a good fit, or if the company is doing something which is vastly different from your interests, your strengths, your priorities, then probably you want to do something else or look elsewhere. I think that's something most people don't do, Shaurya, today. So that advice is, I think it's golden, and I hope more people take it away from this session today. I again want to reiterate for everybody in the room to please start sharing your questions in the chat. We will definitely take them up very soon. And again, please try to make this interactive, you will not get more opportunities like this to get to seasoned marketing experts in one room. So really encourage you to start sharing your questions. The next thing, Prerna, as I was mentioning earlier, that we want to talk about, there are two things actually with regard to job search, and these are the more of the wild cards, so to speak, right? Meaning resume everybody knows, cover letter everybody knows, LinkedIn most people know. What most people don't know are two things. One is portfolio. Okay, so that's something that we actually saw go viral for Zomato in the last year or so. I don't know how many people have seen it, but there was a young girl who prepared a portfolio or a case study for Zomato and put it out on her profile on LinkedIn, and apparently ended up getting an entry level role or something along those lines. So I do understand that portfolios are becoming more and more important and sometimes even a requirement from certain companies, right? And the other aspect, which you were starting to mention last time, is more around like how do you showcase your value in interviews? I think a lot of people still fumble to showcase their achievements and value. They just kind of like regurgitate their responsibilities, but not what they have achieved. So maybe we can get your take on these two things, Prerna.
Portfolio, I think, is not just limited to somebody who's creative, who's part of the creative team. It's not limited to only designers or copywriter. A portfolio can probably showcase anything and everything that you've done, any campaign that you thought of, a push notification that got viral, a caption that you thought of that actually made a lot of sense, and even things that you thought of were great but probably got rejected, because you just never know. And again, there's, for this, you also have to see, one is you maintaining record a track of everything you've done, and second is you understanding that, because you're going to read through and throughout about the brand, about the company that you're going to apply to, right? So what that brand's tone is, what and if you understand that bit, before you even apply for it, then picking up things from your portfolio and making it very precise about what are the things that you think will click with that brand, and showcasing them. I was speaking to somebody who had a 5 or a 6 pager resume, because he told me that I don't want to miss out on anything. What if this one thing that probably is not related to the job that I'm applying clicks for somebody? I just don't want to miss out. And I was like, that what are you going to talk about if you put everything on your resume, right? So there are certain things, the key things that probably, there are couple of people who push out one resume to every company, and then there are a couple of people who remake their resume according to the company and the role that you're applying for. Like, I'm game for both. I would accept both kind of resumes, but I don't know if I will. And I'm talking about resumes, and I know that we were not talking about resumes, but then I think that's the first thing that anybody would ask for the minute you want to apply for it, for a job, right? Whether they're going to read it or not. So it has to be crisp. I will not open a 5 pager resume. I will not go through it. I probably want to talk to you and listen to you and understand what your version of it is. And I am all game for people expect you to I'm going a little off track, sorry again, but then people expect you to know Excel, right? They want you to know formulas. The same way the how AI is functioning, how Chat GPT and Bard are working right now. It looks like that shit, somebody's copied something from Chat GPT, but do it, because it's going to, like, in years to come, it's also going to be a requirement that you know how to use Chat GPT or a Bard properly, right? Or a better version of these things. So when I posted on my LinkedIn about my talk on pivot, I you've seen how I talk, right? I don't know how to talk fancy. I put it on ChatGPT and I, made it fancier and then put it on LinkedIn. So there are times when you need to, make your work look a little finer. But then, and when you talk to the person, then make them understand that how, everything that you've done is going to add value to them. But, initially, putting out things that are important for that role is your game number one. I'm sorry, Arjun, what is the second point?
No, I think you've covered most of it. It was mostly around portfolio and then interviews, right? And I think we are starting to get questions here, Prerna. So some people are sending them directly to me. So I'll ask those questions as well. But quickly, Shaurya, before we turn to this first two questions that we have received, any advice that you would share or any experiences you have had as a hiring manager or somebody who's recently, grown his team? How did you differentiate between the candidates who you were interviewing to decide who you should hire? Like, what were you looking for when you were interviewing candidates for marketing roles?
I think when you're interviewing for marketing roles, uh, I mean, you want a person who can understand the consumer and also do the day-to-day tasks. So you want that sort of inquisitiveness in the person. And apart from whatever people have done, I find that a lot of people are either too humble or they brag a lot. I think if you have that spectrum, you should be somewhere in the middle. That you shouldn't be humble about everything. Let's say I'm talking about that, I did this campaign. Some people always start with we. So then you have to further probe in to understand that, okay, the company did this. What did you do in that? So that's important, and I think that's where a cover letter or a portfolio sort of comes in. That as Prerna mentioned, that if you have, let's say, two CVs, but the work that you've done, like because of job description, you have two different ways to pitch yourself, but the work that you've done is the same. And how you approach that sort of work, that is something which is more important. A lot of people, in their resume, they talk about that this happened, that happened, and I reached here. Now, that if you've given in the resume, you should be thorough with, what did you do in the first step, what did you do in the second step, and when you reach there, how did you evaluate that you've reached, that particular point? So I think that's very important when you are, putting yourself out there or when you are sitting in the interview. One is to make sure that the resume matches with the portfolio that you've created. And second, when you're speaking about that, don't everywhere say that the team did this and then mention what I did. I think you should start with, this is what I did, and hence the team achieved XYZ. That's a good way to put it.
Got it. So kind of take a more balanced approach
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
highlighting your contributions, but also not taking credit for everything. Just got it. Very helpful. So, okay, let's start taking some of these questions. And it seems like people are more comfortable sharing directly with me. And I see Siddharth, you have raised your hand. Siddharth, we'll just take a second to go through some of the questions that have come up, and then we'll take yours as well. So the first question is from AA, and I'm going to share it with you here, Shaurya and Prerna. So AA has shared that I have 2 years of experience in advertising, specifically in client servicing. I would like to pivot into brand management role. Given that I don't have a tier 1 MBA, is it advisable that I take some sort of a course or a diploma that would help me get into brand management? Shaurya was talking earlier about CRM platforms. Is that some sort of a mandate, or can it be acquired skill on the job? So Shaurya, maybe you can take this one since it's kind of addressed to you.
Sure. So I think one common misconception also happens that when you're looking at your next job, you always look at LinkedIn first instead of talking to people within the company. Prerna talked about this earlier, that how she moved from working for the NGO to the marketing team and sort of moved laterally as such. So I think in this case also, if a person is in client servicing, there's an opportunity within the agency itself that they can move into a more brand-centric role. It could be on the operations side, or you can move to the planning team on the agency side. Now, CRM is very different from brand management, so I don't think they're related. Plus, at least for someone like me, you know, a good educational institute stands out when you're probably in your first job or the second job. After that, what stands out that, what you have done done in your past, and how can you add value to my role. So the first time I was hired from the campus. After that, I've always been hired from some other company. So I don't think that matters so much. But that being said, if you think that, you know, some course is adding value to your resume, and you're actually learning from it, uh, so that you can do better work, then do it. Not Don't do a course to find a job. Do the other way around. Do the course to upskill yourself, and then figure out what job that you need.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, I guess though, if let's say, Shaurya, you're targeting a specific role that has certain skill requirements which you don't necessarily have or feel strong about, in that case, would you, like, for example, let's say I want to start doing performance marketing, right? And I don't know much about ads. I know a lot about content marketing. Would you suggest that I take certain courses in performance marketing then start applying for roles? Or would you say that I start applying for roles and then sort of figure out performance marketing on the job?
I think like the fundamentals is what the course will teach you. And again, I would say that, see, if you're in any marketing function, it will be difficult to that there is only a brand team and there is no performance marketing team. So it's good to, build that relationship internally, learn from them on the job. I mean, you don't have to do their work, but you can always look at, like, media report and try to understand that if they have spent X amount of money on Facebook and Y amount of money on Google, what was their rationale for that? And that's where, applying your learning that you're gathering outside, like in like how we do like primary research and secondary research. This is like that. So speak to the person who's doing that role, and also figure out outside of your work schedule to understand more about that, what that role demands actually.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a good segue to the point that I wanted to make during this session, is that we have, for the benefit of everybody in the room, we have at Pivot people like Prerna and Shaurya who have volunteered to provide their time and expertise and share their guidance with people one-on-one, provide any help or support you need in terms of achieving your career goals, especially in marketing. So that's something we'll talk about again. But Shaurya's point around connecting with people who are in your target role and learning from them, I think is of paramount importance. Makes a lot of sense. Prerna, next question is something that's actually very targeted towards you. So Shreyash has a question around, how does a day in senior brand manager role at Zomato look like? What are some of the day-to-day responsibilities that you have?
I think very haphazard is what I'll start off with. Very unplanned, because I'm currently working with every city which is on Zomato, and every city has a different requirement every day, and we need to figure out. And then there are our brand campaigns, and then there are these festival campaigns that keep coming up. And for us, we need to always figure out what we want to prioritize. There's a lot of program management between us and the creative team, the operations teams, and the sales teams, to figure out what's going to work? Why is it going to work? And once we've done it, how did it go? So, juggling between all of this, I feel every day just starts and finishes and you don't get to know. But then it's a lot of fun because you're talking to so many people who have so many ideas that you learn a lot, you grow a lot, and there are a lot of internal stakeholders, a lot of external stakeholders that you have to manage and figure out, but then it's more about prioritization and then getting work done. I don't know if I was able to answer your question. I'm trying to keep my words less this time, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think definitely covers some of the key points there. Prerna, thanks for sharing that. Um, Maybe what we can do next is, I know Siddharth, you had raised your hand, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question if you can hear me.
Uh, Thank you. Thanks, Arjun. It was very insightful to listen to you, Prerna and Shaurya. Thanks for all that you've told us. My question would be, so I'll give you a little bit of a setup first, right? Uh, so I've got like a very tiny experience of about 4.5 years, working in marketing as a content guy, right? Specifically to be a very like a copywriter and everything. And recently I switched to a role in where I'm functioning as a content lead, right? My question really is, during the interviewing process, right? I uh, I always struggle with the fact that I have basically bootstrapped my career in the sense that I do not have like the familial support to fund for my education and all those things. So I don't think so that I can afford to get a fancy MBA degree or something like that to justify the expectation that the employers usually have for the kind of roles that I'm applying to, right? uh, and it gets very almost condescending in the way that the employers usually look at me, in the way that I'm like a 24-year-old and I'm coming and I'm asking them for a certain pay and a certain amount of responsibilities and designation. And it always turns out that once everything is done, the entire process is done, and they're sending me an offer letter or something like that, and it's always like they'll assign me a very vague designation because I do not have the kind of numbers in the way in my portfolio or anything, because I find myself hard adjusting to performance marketing aspects and everything. While I've been trying to learn all of those things, I find myself as a strictly creative fellow. So how do I go about it, and how do I beat that condescending attitude, and how do I really justify my worth as who I am, as a professional, and what I can bring to the table, and progress my career that way? Because I've been working with agencies, so I've got a long portfolio with brands, but it really doesn't mean much if I go to somebody and they don't recognize that, or I do not, I can't make anything out of it. So I'm sorry if the question is like not very clear.
No, I think Siddharth, thanks for sharing that. If I mean, I'll try to take a stab at perhaps summarizing some of the key points you're trying to make. I think uh,
Yeah.
basically you have about 4 to 5 years of experience, and you worked at agencies, and you have a lot to showcase, but you're not able to figure a way to showcase that contribution or achievements that you have had in your career, perhaps because you've had more of a creative side. Of a marketing role as opposed to a performance driven marketing role. So the question is, how do you get the right kind of feedback and reactions from employers
Yeah.
who would understand your achievements as well as your potential, right? Is that a fair way
Yeah.
to summarize that?
Yeah, Arjun, that would be yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, yeah, I think, Shaurya, do you want to take a stab at that since Prerna went last?
Sorry, I always forget to unmute. Yeah, I think how I would like to put it is that if you've done a lot of work, and I don't know the nature of your contribution to that work, it's always good to categorize it. So if you're a copy person and you've written, let's say, bylines, you've written scripts, you've written social media copy, try to see that, how you can categorize that and try to pitch yourself that, I have done X, Y, Z, and I have an interest in A now. So, that what is that X, Y, and Z? That is something that you will have to figure out, and what's that A is the role that you are looking out at. Second thing, if you're not, see, rather than thinking that I will not be able to understand performance marketing, let's try to break it down, into like a smaller thing. So let's say you've written a social media copy and that has gone up on Instagram and someone has, run ads for that. Now, while writing the copy, you would have thought that, who am I writing for? What do you expect them to do after they look at your post? Those are the same things that goes in the minds of the performance marketer, because they are also able to trying to find that one person, or actually not one person, a lot of people who will respond to that copy the way that you have imagined in your head. So try to see it from that perspective and break it down into similar things. On the last point about people not replying nicely to you and all those sort of things, I think that is in the nature of the person who's interviewing you. But I would say that your mindset should be that learning is not always about that I should do X, Y, Z, and that's how I'll move forward. You should always also learn that how you should work with people who would look down upon you because you don't have that experience or that sort of thing, and still sort of have that resilient nature in you that you'll move past that. So I mean, this is the real life is pretty hard on all of us, and when you're sitting in meetings sometimes, where even if you're making a good point, people are not ready to listen to you, and you would have all the data and you would have done all the homework, but no one will listen to you. And it might just happen that 10 days later they'll tell you this, yes, you were right. So I think you should, uh, uh, prior to their realization, you should be open to listen and try to process that down, that and not in a negative manner that people are trying to be condescending. I don't know what the situation is, so I can't comment a lot on that, but I think take it in a way that what can I learn from this conversation and how do I move forward.
Yeah, I think one of the points, Shaurya, that I just want to reiterate to Siddharth here is, there are things in life and in career that you can control, and there are things that you can't control, right? And it's always better to focus on the controllable variables that you can make an impact on. I think a lot of the things that Shaurya is talking about are within your control, right? Like, how do you add new skills? How do you showcase them to an employer? What you can't control is people's biases all the time, right? Like, if they have a certain bias, you don't have enough time of the day to change their mindset. So I think that is something that makes a lot of sense, Shaurya. And I know we are coming up on our time here. We just have, I believe, two more questions. Is it okay if we take those two questions, Prerna, Shaurya, quickly, and then we can wrap it up? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So your next question, Prerna, this one is for you, and again, it was directed directly to me. The question is, basically, there are three main facets to marketing, according to Smriti. It's domain knowledge, problem-solving skills, and then translating your knowledge into insights, right? So Smriti has a market research background, and she is basically asking how she can showcase these skills on her resume to gain more visibility or acceptance from employers. If she doesn't have these three main skills that she's talking about, should she be taking courses to learn and then put them on her CV, or would you recommend something else? So again, the three skills that she mentioned, and you can feel free to add more or differ from Smriti's point of view, but she said according to her, the three main skills in marketing that are very important are domain knowledge about your industry, the problem solving skills, and then finally translating your information into insights.
Sorry. Smriti, can't agree more. But then, because not coming from a background where, I learned things about marketing during my courses, but then, finally learning on the job, figuring out what I want to do and how I want to do it. I think something that I would like to add is that, and I don't know if you'd want to, like, I don't know how you'll showcase this on a resume or a cover letter, but then when you're talking to an interviewer, when you're, or even sending out, your first message to somebody, I think it is your intent to learn something, and it is also you understanding the brand tone. I'm going to repeat brand tonality, in the sense that whether you resonate with the brand and how much you want to learn on the job, because everything that you've said are things that are going to be should be on papers, they're great, but then at the end of it, it is also one, how much you grasp. Nobody basically, recruiters, when they're recruiting you, they're looking for a set of things that you should already know, but they're also looking at your openness to learn and adjust to their brand tonality and how their brand is working, and then combine both of them and work towards it. So I feel that that is something that you want to talk about more than the three things, and in additional to the three things that you spoke about.
Got it.
I don't
Yeah.
the question. Please feel free to talk about it or discuss more if you want to.
Yeah, and I know in the interest of time, we'll just take the next question quickly. But Smriti, we will talk about how you can potentially reach out to Prerna, later to discuss this one-on-one, or to Shaurya. So the last question I just want to ask here is from Harshit, and his question is more around what are some of the essential hard skills that you believe people should gain to start a career in the marketing field? That's a good question. I think it's more for people who are just starting their careers in marketing. Are there any key skills that you would, and hard skills especially, that you think are going to be a requisite to get people started? Shaurya?
Uh, Actually, if you if you think about marketing, it depends, like, where do you want to start your marketing career from. So if you're on the agency side, uh, you should, have a basic understanding of, what is a insight, what is a tonality, what is a persona, how do you reach a positioning statement, all those sort of things, if you're looking, if you're getting into the planning side as such. If you're starting from the brand side, as I said, the most important skill for a marketer is to understand, how the business is working and how all the other departments are coming together. And that is something that you have to build on the job, instead of, uh, thinking it about that, I'll have, see, everybody studies the same thing in MBA, or everybody studies the same thing in every, marketing related course per se. Now, how do you apply those things into one particular situation? Is that is something that you'll have to, uh, pick up per se. I don't know if that answers the question, but I tried my best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
I think,
think,
yeah, Prerna, please go ahead. Please go
sorry, basic communication skills, I think are very important. I think there are times when, we think that when there's a recruiter, they probably feel that, this is an unsaid thing, but then, working on your communication, how you write, how you read, you should read a lot. You should stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself and figure out, if you're pronouncing things right. There are a lot of words that probably I will also not pronounce right, but then, these are basic skills, especially somebody who's starting their career should, concentrate a lot on, to, just to be a little bit more confident about yourself. I don't know.
Makes sense. I think that was a good question, and I hope that everybody had something to take away from this session. With that, we would like to wrap up today's session so that people can go back to watching the World Cup. And before we do that, thank you so much, Shaurya and Prerna, for joining and sharing your, all your experiences and learnings. I know it can be hard, when you have so many people with diverse backgrounds in the room and you have to really tailor your advice, your suggestions. But this is the main reason why, we have people like you giving one-on-one guidance and advice on Pivot. So again, just to let people know that both Prerna and Shaurya serve as industry mentors on Pivot. So you can reach out to them on our platform and have one-on-one discussions where you get much more tailored, much more personalized guidance, which wouldn't be one size fits all. As you probably heard during the session, a lot of times Shaurya and Prerna said it depends, right? And that it depends becomes much more, I would say, effective when you are in a one-on-one session. So definitely reach out to them. We are sharing the link for our website Pivot here in chat. So feel free to go on that and you can figure it out very quickly how to connect with Shaurya and Prerna. But thank you everyone for joining in. And I hope the session was helpful. We will be doing more of these. So feel free to follow Pivot and feel free to also follow Shaurya and Prerna on LinkedIn. I know, Prerna, you put out some good content from time to time. So there's a lot of learning that can happen through the insights that Prerna shares and Shaurya share from their journeys as well. Yeah, any parting thoughts, Prerna or Shaurya, feel free to share and then we'll wrap this up.
I think all good from my side. I think while answering the questions, you also sort of reverse think that what did I do in that situation? So that's helpful, and I think for me that's my learning bit from sessions like this, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
same. Thank you so much. But yeah, same thing, I'm also going to reflect on what all I said and what more I could have said, the same way you do it for any interview, that what more could I have said or what was the correct thing to say. I just hope that I was able to, put things across nicely.
Absolutely. And yeah, we will be sharing the link for the recording soon. So people who were not able to join, and Shaurya, Prerna, if you want to share it in your networks for the benefit of others, that would be great. But thank you so much again for taking time out. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll do more of these in coming times.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Have a
Thanks.
good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.